Let me give an analogy, a loose one, but I think not totally loose. Explaining the position of members of Parliament after this referendum. I have fought, Lord knows how many elections we've fought over the last 50 years, and I apparently am now being told that despite having voted as I did in the referendum, somehow I am an enemy of the people, ignoring my instructions to stick to the opinions that I was expressing, at least in my meetings, rather strongly. I personally am convinced that the hardcore Eurosceptics in my party, with whom I've enjoyed debating this for decades now, would not have felt bound in the slightest by the outcome of the referendum to abandon their arguments. Well, I don't say that as criticism. Last time I kicked over the traces was on the Lisbon Treaty, where my party suddenly, for some peculiar reason, got itself on the wrong side of the argument. But I'll pass that over. But what I would point out to those who say that somehow I am being disloyal to my party by not voting in favour of this bill, I am merely propounding the official policy of the Conservative Party for 50 years, and the official policy of the Conservative Party for 50 years, and the official policy of the Conservative Party for 50 years until the 23rd of June. I admire my colleagues who can suddenly become enthusiastic Brexiteers, having seen a light on the road to Damascus on the day that the vote is cast on the 23rd of June. I'm afraid that light has been denied me. I find it amazing to believe that his party had become Eurosceptic and rather mildly anti-immigrant in a very strange way in 2016. Well, I'm afraid on that I haven't followed them, and I don't intend to do so. It's absurd to say that every elector actually knew what the difference was between the customs union and the single market and had taken a careful and studied view on the basis of our future trade relations with Europe. I admire the Prime Minister and her colleagues for their constant propounding of the principles of free trade. My party hasn't changed that. We are believers that free trade is a win-win situation. We were the leading advocates of liberal economic policies, amongst the European powers, have done for many years, so we're free traders. So that it seems to me it is unarguable that if you put between us and the biggest free market in the world new tariffs, new regulatory barriers, new customs procedures, certificates of origin and so on, you are bound to be weakening your economic position that it would otherwise have been, other things being equal, in future. That's why it's important that that issue is particularly addressed. We need success in these trade negotiations to recoup at least some of the losses which we're going to incur from leaving the single market. And if all is lost on the main principle, that is the big principle this House must get control of and address seriously in proper debates and votes. I never quote Burke, but I paraphrase him. And he said to his constituents, if I no longer don't give you my benefit of my judgment and simply follow your orders, I am not serving you, I am betraying you. I personally shall be voting with my conscience content in this vote. And when we see what unfolds hereafter as we leave the European Union, I hope the consciences of other members of Parliament remain equally content.